Hello, my name is Dale Wilhite. I live in Mountain Village, Colorado. If you want to find out anything about me, go to MySpace where I have a page. This is about becoming a trucker. It's a job that's very hard to do. It's not as easy as people think it is. It's not like the TV show BJ and the Bear, and it's not like any of those movies you see about trucking from the 1970s. It's a very hard life. I did it temporarily. Basically, when you first start off, it's hard to make ends meet sometimes because you're not going to make a whole lot of money. When I started off with McKinsey Tank Lines, and I was making something like $55 a day, working 15 hours. Then I went on to work for J.B. Hunt, and I was just getting paid 21 cents a mile, and it's just unbelievably difficult. The first thing you need to know about before you become a trucker, are you in it? I need to ask you this question, and this is something that the state Transportation Department, National Transportation Department do not ask, and they need to ask this question. Do you have insomnia? If you have insomnia, you do not want to become a truck driver because you will only get an 8-hour break, although that may have changed since I drove. The last time I drove a truck was in 1991. Because you only get an 8-hour break most of the time. That's what they're required to give you. That may be extended to 10 hours. But there's also talk about allowing drivers to drive even longer now. Instead of 10 hours, maybe up to 12 hours. So it may change under the Obama administration. I don't know yet. But believe me, you're not going to get much sleep. And if you're an insomniac, and when it's your time to go to sleep and you only get those 8 hours and you don't go to sleep, you're going to have a very rough 10 hours afterwards, dozing off at the wheel. And that's where a lot of your accidents take place when it comes to professional truck drivers, because the National Transportation Board doesn't have enough common sense to ask truck drivers when they apply to become truck drivers, do you suffer from insomnia? And they should make it a crime that if you do suffer from insomnia and you don't tell them you have an accident because of it, that you should go to jail. Anyhow, when you go to a truck driving, to become a trucker, if you can get trained by a national trucking company like J.B. Hunt, you're better off to do that because then they pay you for it. But if you have to go to a school, do not go to these fly-by-night schools where they charge you $5,000. What you want to do is go to a VOTEC school. I went to the Washington Humms VOTEC in Shipley, Florida in 1990, and it lasted 8 weeks. I don't know if they closed it down or not. I was going to look a minute ago and I forgot. But that's where I went. And it's one of the, at that time, it was one of the only about 3 schools in the country that all trucking companies recognized. Some of the students in our class had already went to one of these $5,000-6,000 truck driving schools, and nobody would hire them. The reason why nobody would hire them is because you spend most of your time sitting in a classroom and you may only drive 50 miles. When I trained at Washington Humms VOTEC, you have to drive 500 miles. You get a lot of driving time. So don't waste your money. Go to a VOTEC, go to a technical college to get your trucking, and make sure that every trucking company in the nation recognizes that school. That's the first thing you do. How much did it cost me? It cost me $250, and plus I had to pay $100 a week for rent and then food and stuff like that. There in Shipley, they charge a little bit more there because a lot of the motels and hotels there know that a lot of kids come there to rent by the week when they attend that college. So make sure you check it out. But if you can be trained by a nationally recognized trucking company, do so with them. The first thing but if you go to a truck driving school, the first thing they're going to begin to teach you about is your CDL. So even before you go to these trucking schools, get on the internet, get the CDL book, read it, study it, and learn it, and you'll pass your test. Then the rest of it's on the road training. And of course you have to have good eyesight. Right now I drive a bus. Here in Telluride, Colorado, I've been doing so for about 10 years. And the reason why I like that over long haul driving is because I go home every night. I can get some sleep. And because I am an insomniac. And luckily I recognized it before anything went bad. So that's something you really have to take into account. Now, when I drove with a truck driving company, like I said, with J.B. Hunt, it was just 21 cents a mile. So you're not going to make a whole lot. You have to really hang in there. And here's one bit of news that you need to understand. Only 1 out of 100 truck drivers will survive a year. It's a very difficult thing to do. People, again, they think truck drivers have it easy. You don't have it easy whatsoever. Okay. Okay, I've got that part. All right, now truck drivers. How can I put this? Most of your trucks today, long haul truck drivers, have to drive 53-foot trucks now. When I started off, it was 40 foot. Then it went to 53. 53-foot trucks are not designed for most small towns and cities across America. It's very difficult to drive those type of trucks. I would have probably loved it, if it stayed at 40, but 53 foot. We have 53-foot trucks that come in to tell you right here in Mountain Village, and they get stuck all the time because this town wasn't ever built or designed for trucks of that size. But they come in here anyway, and the town people don't have enough common sense to ban them from coming in here. Demand they bring in a shorter truck so they can get into the town and get around it. But a 53-foot truck is a very difficult thing to drive. Now, some of the secrets to driving long haul, you do have a route you have to take. When I drove for JB Hunt, you could not go 50 miles off that route. If you go 50 miles off that route, you have to explain why. When you get paid out at a designated truck stop. That's where you get your money from. That's where you get your paycheck from, and it's all in cash if you want it. They give you a number, and the cashier will call that number in. That is your dispatcher will give you a number that morning, because every morning that you're driving, you have to call in. I had to call in every morning. The dispatcher will give me the number. I gave it to the cashier. The cashier called the dispatcher back, I believe is the way it worked. And I would get paid. And I made about $250 a week, sometimes about $220 a week. You do have to buy your own food and all that stuff like that. And of course, you have to fuel up a lot. So, but you have to stay on route. And that's something you have to remember. You can't. It isn't this freewheeling. Well, I'm going to go off route and go do this, and it's nothing like that. Unless you own your own truck or something. Getting late to your destination. Sometimes I would get there maybe just right when the place I was supposed to be at closed, so I could get some sleep that night, and because I knew they wouldn't open up the next morning. That's a good little trick to pull if you can do it. After that, when you deliver your load, a lot of times you'll have to call. Well, you will have to call back your dispatcher, and they'll send you within 50 miles of another load to pick up. So again, it's a very tiring job, and the average amount of time you will stay out there is about 6 weeks. So that's something to remember. And after 6 weeks, you get ready to come in. They'll be telling you, well, we need to make another run, and another run, and another run. Tell them, no, I'm going home. Just like that. So before you get into trucking, make sure you study it very well. Make sure you go to the right school. Don't go to these fly-by-night schools. You will regret it. You will not get hired in most places because you don't spend enough time behind the wheel. You need experience behind the wheel. Remember though that going to these trucking schools, it isn't really a pass or fail. They're just going to make sure that you're safe, that you can pass your CDL. You got your CDL. They'll grandfather you in, the trucking companies. And or they may just give you the whole CDL there at trucking school. Ours, they just grandfathered in when you hired on. Just make sure you check the school out and make sure this is really what you want. But if you have a problem with your sleep, don't apply. You can still go to a truck driving school, but you might want to get a trucking job, like a Coca-Cola truck or something like that. Don't get any long haul trucking jobs. Don't do that. Stay away from the tankers, like hauling gasoline. Hauling gasoline is probably one of the worst truck driving jobs there is, because you're not going to make much, and it's just a really boring job. Thank you for your time, and I hope this helps a little bit.